No intro quip, let's just dive in. It all starts here. This series lifts off with some interesting tunes, some peculiar choices for robot masters, and sets of ideas to percolate over minigames to follow. This was a great first step, but from deja vu segments to pad the link to having to absolutely grab the magnet beam to slip slide around on stages, this one really doesn't sit that well with me. Not sure who said ship it, and I get it was back in the ancient 1980s, but while I can get through it, these sorts of controls drive me batty. Take no further look than the first Kid Icarus game. Why is Mega Man wearing boots made of ice? Why? Props are in order for Dr. Light and Dr. Wily for not naming metal that they discover directly after themselves. As a story recap, Dr. Wily absconds off with 6 robots of Dr. Light's creation for his nefarious purposes, so Dr. Light cobbles some ceramic titanium armor, because sure, why not, and the Mega Buster for Mega Man to go from a lowly lab assistant to a super fighting robot. We're gonna start off with Guts Man. Also of note, there's only 6 robot masters, which in a way helps this game. But anywho, a mining operation for a setting, that isn't too bad, but those platforms at the beginning can drop you like a rock if you're not anticipating. But like most of this game, the stages are quick, so platforming dangers and a quick skip pop later were at the end, and honestly I'm glad that they dropped the enemies right before the boss. Sure, you can farm them for health, but it's not worth it. It's really not, unless you're really needing some. The tune for the stage is really nice, I do like it. The boss fight is you can get by with just the Buster, but I don't like getting staggered because Guts Man's so dumpy. The super arm is an absolutely whatever sort of weapon. It is so situational. I don't necessarily hate it. I do like that it has a function, but it could be better. It would have been cool to have been able to grab and throw the robots, but that might have been asking too much back in 1987. Next up, probably the other most recognizable robot master from the series is Cutman. For being built for forestry purposes, there's not much in the way of trees, so Cutman must be doing his job. That's nice. The tune is a really enjoyable one for the stage. I do like it a lot. You'll start to see and experience some deja vu, where snippets and segments will repeat. Here it's not so bad, and it's very light, but some of the other stages, it's a lot more on the nose. Anyway, up and down and onto the boss. Cutman is easy, but is a fun fight. The rolling cutter, don't think that name's a little not correct. It's alright, nothing magical. I wish it was more straightforward shot that came back instead of some lazy boomerang. I elect this stage for the best tune of Robot Masters. It's so cheery, I love it. Anywho, Fireman Stage, however, I'm not a big fan of it. It is nice that it's more vertical. Good thinking on that part. Makes me think that they used it as inspiration for Crashman and Quickman Stage for Mega Man 2. This stage feels like a bit of a copy and paste job. Half of it is on repeat. And don't forget about the handful of Yoku blocks. Yay! If you don't have the super arm from Gutsman at this point, you'll have to return to this stage to get the magnet beam, which as a kid I completely missed and didn't realize what I was going for until later. But that's because I was dumb. It's still kind of annoying, but Anywho, the magnet beam does negate a lot of trickier platforming parts, so I can understand why they dropped it for following the releases. The portion right before Electman and the fight itself are kind of like getting up to him is a bit of a pain because it's these electric beams that you have to watch out for, and the fight is really tough. One point is that Electman's attack is a weakness for Mega Man, and I do like that idea. Even though it makes it really hard, it is a cool idea to be like, oh, Mega Man is just as weak to some of these things as they are to the weaknesses there, but they seem to have dropped that a bit and really kept the Robot Masters at a tight, oh, they're going to do 4 damage, oh, they'll do 5 damage, or maybe if they're super strong, they'll do 6, but generally not. It's doable with just the Buster shot, but it can be really tough. You got to get them into a repeating pattern, because, yeah, I think it's 3 hits and you'll die by Electman's Thunderbeam. Speaking of Thunderbeam, it is a beastly attack. It's strong and can blow away blocks the super arm's supposed to pick up, making the super arm even less necessary. Ooh boy, Iceman Stage. This is sluggish at first, and then there's Yoku blocks, the short pitfall section, boring tune. Yeah, this is my least favorite stage. I'm not too keen on it. It does not fill me with joy. The water will slow you down. There's really nothing much to it. The Yoku blocks aren't a bad addition, so it's a nice element to be like, oh, okay, well, sure, I understand now. The fight isn't very exciting. You can beat it with just the Mega Buster, but A, it'll take forever, and B, this might be the Robot Master you get to learn a very bad experience on, is that when you beat the Robot Masters, you will get frozen for a moment, and in that moment, you could eat a projectile and die, which is not too cool. Not too keen on it, but if anything, I guess just means that you need to pay attention to what you're doing. Like, it makes sense, but I think because you get that frozen stutter moment, kind of a slap in the face. Ice Slasher isn't too bad. I actually like the concept of it because it'll lock robots in place for a moment. It'll freeze them. Cool. Next up we have here is Fireman Stage. It's a solid stage. It's a sturdy stage. It also has a good tune to it. There's really not much in the way of robots to hamper anything. You get a little bit of flames floating about and stuff. It's a stop and go with the platforming, but it seems like it is more geared towards doing more platforming, whether horizontally or vertically. It was a nice touch. Kind of gives me vibes of what Shadow Man will be for Mega Man 3. And truthfully, the stage goes quick and before you know it, it's over. The fight is a slugfest, and I do like that. One of those you're not dodging, you're going to take damage. It's possible to beat it with just the Buster, but at lower health, that's a really tough order. You're not getting out of this unscathed, unless you're using the pause trick. When I was playing through this, I did not use the pause trick. I wanted to see and experience all the fun and joys of certain things. I mean, it makes sense for speedrunning, or possibly for one segment towards the end of this game. We'll get to that. For this, I wanted to just play through it. Firestorm isn't too bad. It's sort of a shield-esque type of weapon, plus a projectile, so that's pretty good stuff. Last up of the 6, and it's Fireman Stage. It's alright. I do like the tune. The stage itself may be the first time that if you're ever playing it, you learn that Mega Man 1 plays by different rules and doesn't give you iframes. So those jagged spikes are a little bit more jagged than what you would expect, and they will kill you, even if you're hit and you're stun locked. Honestly, I kind of like that. I know I will abuse it in later Mega Man games, but I do like the aspect that it's like, well, you got hit, you still can't abuse it. They're spikes, they're gonna get you. I wish that those rules were still in effect. The fight is fun. You can use the Buster without too much of an issue. I mean, you can use his weakness, but I don't know. I like to use it without the Buster. It's just a good practice for movement and anticipation and explosions, all that sort of fun stuff. The Hyper Bomb that you get on the other hand, it's not so good. No me gusta. So 4 stages of terror with the Dr. Wily stuff. So the first stage is a great combination of tough fights, platforming, trebles, and spikes. Plus, this is where you get the Yellow Devil, which is a boss I kinda like and then also kinda dislike. Sure, it's nice to pay homage to it, but I feel like at times, particularly as the series has gone along, they've leaned a little too heavy into being like, hey, it's the Yellow Devil, or it's Yellow Devil adjacent. Anywho, the fight is definitely initially rough. It's going to kick your butt if you're not used to it. But once you do get used to it, you still have to be on your A game. You can't get sloppy with it, otherwise it will trounce you. That is really cool. Stage 2 is a bit repetitious. This is where Elect Man has a little bit of it, Bomb Man has a little bit of it. They were just like, I don't know, just wrap it up. It gets really repetitive. Then you get slapped with a repeat fight of Cutman and Electman. At least the tune for this stage is a repeat of stage 1, which is really, really good. Got this sort of somber tone to it that I really appreciate. The back half of the stage is a bit average, and not quite to the enjoyment to Dr. Wily's stage 1. The boss fight is a copy of Mega Man, which honestly I really dig. It's a challenging fight. That'll get you prepared for what's to come in certain ways, but I don't know, I really dig it. I wish this would come back. I mean, it sort of came back for Mega Man 3, but it was such a poor excuse of it. It's like, what's there to say about stage 3? It's super short. You go along, it's like you're being flushed down the toilet. I don't have any other way to put it. The boss isn't bad or anything. I don't mind it, and you have the super arm to completely dunk on it. Now, stage 4 is where the rest of the trouble is. Where stage 1 was really tough, and then stage 2 had some toughness to it. Stage 4 is where, it's not so bad. And then you decide to go through the teleporter without getting that weird item to refill your stuff, the Yashichi, and then you get completely dunked on. Also, point of interest, why isn't the Yashichi in any other later Mega Man games or something adjacent to it? Instead of, oh, here's an M tank and you drink it and it takes forever. This, you just get it, boom, full heal, full recharge. Anywho, don't be excited because the next stretch is probably the most brutal in a Mega Man game. If not, it's pretty close. You fight Bomb Man, then Fireman, then Iceman, and then Gutsman. Back to back to back to back to back. Who thought this was a good idea? There's no health, there's no recharge. You just do one of two things. You pause your way to victory, or you get good. And even then, I mean, you're going to be taking damage for the Fireman. The other ones you can skate by. The Gutsman one is probably the trickiest one because there's no platform. It's rough. Don't get comfortable, because after you get through that, Dr. Wily is right around the corner, so you either flame up or flame out. That said, I do like the final fight. It's not too stupid or over the top. It's really just attack, 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 and get through it. Especially if you're like me and you're like, yeah, I'm not dodging every single hit, and I'll just take the first L and then come back and then thwomp on them. And then once you get through it, you're rewarded with the ending credits. Like I said, this is a great first step for a series. It has a lot of shortcomings. The icy movement, just enough to build stages, but still not enough that they had to rely on some copy-paste jobs. Not a lot of robot baddies, but obviously with how it turned out, there's a great core here, and it would be able to support and build mostly better games to come. I guess the one thing I'm just a little sad about is there really weren't any mini-bosses. I do like my Mega Man mini-bosses.